We're going live. Unmuted. It's 10 o'clock. We are live.
Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, everybody. This is the Coastal Permit Administrator meeting for Thursday, May 26, 2022. And let me start off by stating that the Mendocino County Coastal Permit Administrator meetings will be conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation. The provisions of the Government Code Section 54953 and the recommendations of the Mendocino County Health Officer. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 10 a.m. May I please get a determination of noticing for these two projects?
All items were noticed properly.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that moves us to the regular calendar. And the first item I have here is case number CDP 2020-0020. The owner applicant is Barbara and Lawrence Hutchins. The agent is Schlosser Newberger Architects, Todd Newberger. The request is a standard coastal development permit to construct a 912 square foot barn, an equestrian rescue ranch, and a residence with an attached pool house and garage, fence generator enclosure, fence trash enclosure, underground water storage tanks, underground propane tank, concrete retaining wall, guest cottage, associated well, pump house, septic and leach fields, and undergrounding overhead utilities in a location mapped as highly scenic and adjacent to shore bluffs. The environmental determination is that a mitigated negative declaration has been prepared for this project. The project is located in the coastal zone 3 ± miles north of Elk and contiguous with the Peg and John Frankel Trail on the west side of State Route 1, located at 2900 South Highway 1 in Elk, Assessor's Parcel number 127-040-13. And please get a staff report.
I'd be happy to provide a staff report. I would like to ask that the host allow me to share video and screen. I'd also like to note that Laura Abels and Todd Newberger are participants on this item and that they have logged into the Zoom software. The project, the property owner has applied for a standard coastal development permit to construct a 912 square foot barn and equestrian rescue ranch, as you described, and a residence with an attached garage. The applicant proposes to have roof mounted solar panels, a pool house, a fence generator enclosure, a fence trash enclosure, 2 underground water storage tanks, the propane tank, to construct a concrete wall on the east side of the driveway, a guest cottage, associated well, which has been in use since 1989, pump house, septic, leach fields, and undergrounding overhead utilities, which is a requirement of the highly scenic area where this property is located. There we go. The applicant proposes to continue agricultural use of the land. I mentioned this because the land is zoned rangeland. It's a very small lot. It's comparatively, it's about 18.5 acres in size. And typically in rangeland, you see 160 acre in size lots. So no conversion to a non-agricultural use is proposed. In fact, the applicant proposes an agricultural use of the land, which is light agriculture. The applicant has a long history associated with the equestrian uses and intends to graze horses on their 18-acre property. This is a principally permitted use in the district where the property is located. The applicant also proposes a habitat management program. For example, the horses would be restricted from grazing in the Grand Fir Forest, Isha, and its buffer, by low stature fencing. And the applicant proposes to plant regionally native plants adjacent to the Peg and John Frankel Trail. This trail follows the easterly edge of the property and also State Route 1. The property abuts the trail and the trail follows the highway. I'll show you that in just a minute. In fact, let me share screen briefly here. Sharing. And here we go. So this is an aerial image of the property. And the yellow line shows a 100-foot buffer from sensitive habitat areas as it was determined when by the surveying biologist. This is from the initial submittal of the application. There have been some revisions to some of the sensitive habitats, but it's still representative of within the yellow polygon, the area that would be restricted by deed to allowed open space activities, which is really a large area of the property. And if you note, it's really the northern area, which includes these Sicko willow thickets, sort of a riparian or wetland area, really dominates this northern area of the property. Going across the screen here, this is State Route 1. This is the location where there's currently a gate, and I'll show you some photographs from this vantage point in a moment. This is the area where they're proposing the home, which is within 50 feet of these rare plants here, which are purple checker bloom. And there is some conditions specifically related to protecting on-site sensitive habitat areas. This is a rock outcrop here, and there's another one here, which rock outcrops are discussed in our highly scenic chapter. Down here is the Grand Fir Forest. And this area here is really, there's a steep gulch here. And just as you enter into the tree canopy, you quickly realize that this part of the land is very steep. So this slide here is from the architect. It's a site plan. Here is the proposed home. Here is the highway with the driveway entrance. There's a route that comes down to a circular turnaround. And on this easterly side of the driveway is a proposed wall, which will be a maximum height of about 10 feet. Putting in this wall allows the home to be nested so that the roof line really is maybe 4 or 5 feet above the road here. And as you'll see through some of the visual renderings the architect has prepared, the home really is not visible. And this improvement here is not visible from the highway or even from vantage points to the north looking south across the lot. This is the location of the proposed barn. You can see it's basically directly a straight line from the gate entrance down to the barn, and this building here is a guest cottage. And then over here are the leach field and the replacement leach field, and the existing well is right here. This existing well in 1989 was installed by the Fish brothers and serviced an adjoining lot to the south that was at that time under the same ownership as this property. Here's a view from the gate entrance, and I'm just going to go over quickly a couple of views. This is looking south towards the trees, and the Grand Fir Forest is here on the right. This is the gate again. You can see the Grand Fir Forest in the center and this open meadow area that the applicant would really like to use for grazing and agricultural use. This is looking more directly west, and this is looking more north and west. So here you're beginning to see the Frankel Trail that follows the highway, and I'm just going to give you a couple of images as traveling north along this Frankel Trail. So down here on the left is the entrance to the gate, And you can see that it's just sort of a gently sloping lot, but it does, when you reach the shoreline, have very steep bluffs. And here are the tree canopies to the south. I'm still standing basically in the same spot, but I've turned more westerly, so you see more of the trees on the southwest part of the property. Wayfinding for where I took this picture. Just some more images of the property, traveling north along that trail. And here I'm at the northern end of the Peg and John Frankel Trail, looking south across the property. And I've stepped farther away from that sign and looking south across the property. The next couple of images are renderings of what the proposed residence might look like. Here is the proposed residence, and the Frankel Trail sign that you just saw is about here in the picture. And here's an alternative with the residence a little bit more dominant. It's not as low stature. I have some other images that are a little bit. So this is the barn, which I think is very characteristic of barns along Mendocino's coast area. It's a very simple gabled roof with some shed on the sides. And this is the view east facing the highway. This is the view north that you might see also from the highway. This is a view of the home. And as I showed you in the rendering, very little of the home will be seen from the highway, basically maybe the roof line. This is the view from the ocean looking towards the land. And this is the guest cottage. That concludes those, so I'll stop sharing. So the land use that's proposed, again, is an agricultural use, which is allowed within the rangeland district. No conversion to a non-agricultural use is proposed. A single family home is proposed, which is allowed within the rangeland district. It's a principally permitted use. A residence is not considered a conversion to a single family home, a conversion to a non-agricultural use. It's allowed, and it's allowed within agricultural areas. And a single family home under our code can include things like a guest cottage or a swimming pool. Those are common characteristics with a single family home and are proposed by the applicant. The applicant, when they submitted their initial application, included a reconnaissance, a geotechnical reconnaissance report. The Coastal Commission had some questions, and so the applicant went back to their engineer and asked for additional geotechnical investigation. And just this month, we received additional comments on the geologic investigation report. And so on Monday, the geologist, the applicant's engineer, further clarified the basis for their recommendations in the investigation report. The investigation that they did resulted in some minor changes to the site plan. And so the site plan in the staff report is superseded by the site plan included in one of the memorandums. This is Exhibit E in the staff report. It also caused some very small changes to the recommended conditions, as condition 11 references the geotechnical report. So I wanted to include both of the geotechnical reports in the condition 11. And then also, I believe condition 18 was revised, revisions are recommended, and we're suggesting that we add condition 33. The applicant is very eager to begin construction as soon as possible. We have a couple of things that need to be done before building permits can be issued, and the applicant requested phasing so that they can really take advantage of these months ahead. The rainy season begins in October, and the applicant, while there is an existing well that has provided service to the residents to the south, to the Frankel's home on this next lot to the south, this well, we don't have any record of it. So we would ask that the property owner complete a proof of water test prior to the issuance of a building permit. But the applicant also needs to commence significant site grading before the rainy season if they intend to complete the house this 12-month period. That site grading really needs to be completed before the rainy season begins. And so the applicant asks to be able to do that grading as quickly as possible. Their intention is to begin the grading in September. We did include a condition just in case the existing well, which seems to demonstrate under limited testing 7 gallons per minute, which is more than adequate, that when they do the proof of water test, if miraculously it does not produce at least half a gallon per minute, the property owner through this permit would have authorization to test up to 4 other sites for a potential well. One of those 4 tested sites could be converted to a production well. So refinements to the geotechnical recommendations caused an update to the site plan and conditions 11 and 18. And staff is also recommending condition 13 to allow for phasing. I did prepare 2 memos to supplement the staff report today. One of them goes over agricultural, highly scenic, and water testing in response to comments that we received from the California Coastal Commission. The second memo goes over specifically the geotechnical issues that the Coastal Commission has raised and the applicant's response to those comments. It includes the updated site plan and the recommended revisions to the conditions. Again, I do see that the applicant's agent, Todd Newberger, is in the Zoom waiting room, and then also the applicant under the moniker Laura Abels is available when you'd like to hear comments from them. Is there additional information I can provide? I know there's a lot of information in the staff report and the 2 memos, but I didn't really want to go over them in detail unless you'd like me to.
No, thank you. I think you clarified what each memo provides, and really it's the second memo that addresses all the conditions of approval that have been changed.
Right. The first memo, the ag, water, and highly scenic memo, really responds to comments from the Coastal Commission, and I felt that those concerns were adequately addressed in the staff report, and no revisions to the conditions were warranted based on the comments that I heard from the Coastal Commission. The Commission is very concerned that we have a large home in an agricultural setting that's highly scenic, and that the home might be better sited somewhere else on the property. Staff does disagree with this position. We feel that this proposed location is nicely nested, and the home is views of the home are rather limited, and views of agricultural use, which is the intended activity on the property, will dominate the views of the land, and views of the ocean will not be obstructed. So we feel that the highly scenic goals and policies that the county has are achieved by the design that's proposed. The water, we've really dug deep into the water, and the fact that that well had been used by our residents since 1989, I think is quite telling. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's very detailed information and a very detailed mitigated neg deck. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to hear from the applicants or applicants' agents. Mr.
Hi.
Newberger, good morning.
Good morning to you. I would be perfectly happy if you turned on the video so I could you could see me if you prefer, if you like. And
I think all you have to do is turn the video on yourself, because it's on our end. It's available. But I think you have to turn it on.
you know, huh? Okay, I don't seem.
Down at the bottom of your screen, it has the mic and it has the video.
I don't seem to have that, but that's okay. I just have a raised hand and a mute or unmute. So, okay, that's fine. Well, I want to first say thank you so much, Juliana. That was an incredibly complete and wonderful description of the project. I could not have done better myself. I want to just begin by telling you, letting you know a little bit about me and where I come from. I received my architectural degree at UC Berkeley, as well as a minor in conservation and resource studies. And I studied quite closely with some of the premier architects in Northern California who helped establish environmental ethics in the field of architecture. Most specifically, a gentleman by the name of Donald Linden, who was one of the architects for the Sea Ranch, which was the main project that led to the establishment of the Coastal Act and the Coastal Commission. I worked directly with Lawrence Halprin, the landscape designer, who also worked on that. And I studied quite closely with a gentleman named Christopher Alexander, who promoted a concept that we know as wholeness, which may be akin to feng shui, or the concepts that things are sited well and appropriately. And I studied extensively with a gentleman named Sim Vanderin, who was the state architect and really was a pioneer in sustainable and ecological design. And so I don't typically name drop, but I wanted to point all that out to you to make it clear that what I bring to architecture and design here, I've been on the North Coast. I came for 30 years. I came directly out of college and have worked in architecture and landscape design on the Mendocino coast here, between, working on projects from the Sea Ranch up to Westport. I bring a strong environmental ethic to my work, and as a result, and I take these things very, very seriously, including preserving the visual resources and the natural beauty, in addition to the natural ecosystems. I studied landscape design for 8 years. I am a landscape contractor. I have I've done many, many coastal development landscaping plans over the 30-year period. So I'm in tune with the natural ecosystems, and that's to say that's my happy place, in nature. So with that said, I take a holistic view of design, and so we clearly had to mitigate. We had to evaluate the geology, the botany, the agricultural lands as the primary use of this project. So in this case, we have an agricultural piece of property. The southern part of the property is most suitable. There are 6 acres that are suitable for agricultural grazing. The northern part of the property was rockier and coastal scrub, coyote brush. So we retained the southern portion for grazing, and we clustered the development to the north, placing the house at a low level, cutting into the site for the specific reasons that Juliana described, that we're conscious of the visual resources, and we also wanted to facilitate a single level for accessibility for this home. So the driveway, the entry, we did not want to have a multi-leveled design. So we really did put the environmental issues and the resources ahead of owner's program in terms of priority, and we fit our program into that system. And the approach is that we are not separate from nature and these various competing interests, that we are a part of it, and we are, caretakers and willing participants. And so that extends to the excellent experience that I've had with the Elk Services District, the fire department. We're providing 10,000 gallons of below grade water storage with 3 fire hydrants connections on the property for them. And we're also putting the pool, which will have 7,000 gallons of water. We're going to put a fire hydrant connect to it so they can draft from that. So we'll have 17,000 gallons of water available to the community. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that we're coming to this project from a sensitive position, and we're not trying to impose ourselves. We're trying to be willing neighbors and partners with the community. So with that said, is there any specific questions that you might have?
So my question is, you've received the 2 memorandums prepared by staff and the modified conditions of approval, and are you in agreement with those?
Yes, they're perfectly acceptable and in agreement.
All right, thank you. No, I think you've covered everything. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Right. Do we have anybody else from the applicant that wishes to speak on this matter?
We have someone present. I'm not sure if they wish to speak.
We have Laura Albus. Are you here to speak on behalf of the project? You'll want to unmute.
Unmute.
We're here.
And you're representing the project, correct?
No, I'm just pulling this up for Barb Hutchinson to listen to.
Here.
Oh, okay.
Does the applicant wish to say anything to the coastal permit administrator before he closes public comment?
No, I just would like to say thank you to Juliana for the excellent job, as well as Todd Newberger for making this happen.
So for the record, I believe that was Barbara Hutchinson, the applicant.
Yes.
Okay. With that said, do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on this matter? This is the time where the CPA opens up the public hearing.
If you are interested in public comment for this item, please use the raise hand feature. If you are calling
If you're
on the
calling,
phone, it's star 6.
star 6 to unmute.
Star 6 to unmute, star 9 to raise your hand.
Public hearing is open on this matter. Anybody wishing to speak?
I do not see anyone indicating that they wish to speak.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll close the public hearing on this matter and bring it back to the CPA. I've taken a look at the mitigated neg deck, the staff report, the two memos that have been submitted that go into a lot of detail and not only provide a summary of the changes, but also the modifications to the conditions of approval and the rationale. So there's a very detailed presentation and staff report. So at this point, I am going to go ahead and approve the project subject to the modifications to both the findings and to the staff report, subject to these two memorandums dated May 26, 2022, as well as the findings contained in the second memo dated May 26, 2022. Your project is approved. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. If I may just say that there is a 10-day local appeal period where an appeal can be filed to the Board of Supervisors. You would contact the clerk of the board. At the conclusion of that 10-day appeal period, we send a notice to the California Coastal Commission and their appeal period would commence. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that brings us to item 3B on the calendar. This is CDP 2021-0050. The owner is the Heritage House, applicant is Sherwood Design Engineers, agent is Wind Coastal Planning and Biology. The request is a standard coastal development permit request to upgrade and install a new septic system. System will include improvements to collection system, installation of new treatment system, and installation of a subsurface strip dispersal system. The environmental determination is that a mitigated negative declaration has been prepared for this project. The project is located in the coastal zone 1.3 plus minus miles north of Albion Town Center on the east and west sides of State Route 1. 0.1 plus minus mile south of its intersection with Frog Pond Road, located at State Route 1, Little River, assessor's parcel numbers 121-130-10, 13, 14, 33, 34, and assessor's parcel number 123-010-18, 31, 32, and 33. So with that, please get a staff report.
Yes, Mark Kleiser, Planner 2 and Planner for this project. A memo was written and submitted for this project. This memo was revolving around concerns from the applicant regarding the staff report and conditions of approval. That memo was posted yesterday, and since then, staff has received comments from the Coastal Commission. Those were received at 4 p.m. yesterday evening. Additionally, the agent has requested several changes proposed in the memo. The applicant's agent has responded to the Coastal Commission concerns with the proposed condition, and staff is prepared to present this as well as discuss the requested changes to the memo. However, staff feels that these concerns raised by the Coastal Commission as well as the changes requested by the applicant's agents will require further analysis. Staff will need to consult with the Coastal Commission to ensure that any mitigation measures or conditions proposed are sufficient. Additionally, staff will need to determine if the changes to the mitigations and/or conditions of approval will in any way affect the mitigated negative declaration. With this, staff recommends continuing the item to a date certain of June 23rd, 2022, but I am open to questions. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay. Coastal Commission submitted comments last night on this item.
That's correct.
And this is the comments that are coming from Ms. Titiana Garcia.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. And staff is requesting a continuance due to further analysis.
Yes, they raised concerns regarding noise post-construction. Noise was addressed in the staff report and in the environmental determination during construction, but staff did not address any post-construction noises in detail, and the concerns raised by the Coastal Commission address these. So staff would like to have additional time to analyze these concerns and see if they changed mitigated negative declaration in any way.
Okay. Well, does staff want to at least go into the project description and
Certainly.
or should we just look for a continuance and just move it until that date?
Staff suggests that we continue this project. Public concerns were raised. I think those can be easily addressed by the engineer, but staff would really like to have the extra time to look at the concerns raised by the Coastal Commission and address the changes suggested by the applicant regarding the memo.
All right. So we have the applicant's agent, Ms. Nguyen, on the line, correct? Can we bring her in? Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, CPA Gonzalez. Thank you very much for opening this item up. And Mark Kleiser, it's been an absolute pleasure working with you. As with Todd, I don't have the ability to turn on my video, but I'd love for you to be able to see me if possible. And also just as a little bit of background, it was really interesting hearing Todd's description of himself. He and I were both at the College of Environmental Design at UC Berkeley at the same time, had a lot of the same professors. So while I got my master's in landscape architecture and he in architecture, we were in the same design and environment program. So small world. Thank you very much for Mark, for your attention to this project and for all of our back and forth on these items. We have several folks on the line today, and I'd like for, when I'm done, I'd like to introduce or bring them on as well. We have Jeff Green, who's the owner of the Heritage House. We have Karina Chen, who is with Sherwood Design Engineers. She's professional engineer and project manager for the wastewater treatment plant project. And we also have Dale Hempstead, who's the director of construction with Integrated Water Services. First and foremost, this repair and new infrastructure for the wastewater system at the Heritage House, it's absolutely essential that become repaired and installed this year. And so it's essential that we be able to begin this project in July in order to perform all of the construction behavior that we need to perform before the rainy season that hopefully begins this fall. So we very respectfully request this item not be continued. And if it does need to be continued, if it could just be continued perhaps to later today or tomorrow, because every moment is essential in this, especially with procuring materials, and Dale can get into that more closely. I have 4 items that I want to address, 3 with regards to the memo and 1 with the Coastal Commission's commentary. And I do believe, honestly, that all of these items can be addressed quite smoothly and easily today or, within a day. I have just sent an email to Coastal Commission staff asking that they respond as soon as possible to the proposed condition language that I sent to Mark Kleiser this morning to address their concern. It's potential language for condition number 36 about the noise. And I'd like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to go into my 3 items regarding the memo and the 4th item, which is the Coastal Commission noise comment. So for the first 2 items.
With that said, Amy, hold on. Was there a response back from the Coastal Commission?
Let me see. Tatiana just responded. Okay, super. Tatiana just responded, and that's copied to Mark Kleiser, Adrian Thompson, and Nash Gonzalez. I asked her regarding my proposed language for condition 36, if she could let us know if she could support this condition and if it addresses her concerns. She says, yes, I think the special condition covers any potential issue with noise. So that's been copied to
So, with
you.
that said, I'm gonna ask staff, if I continued this to this afternoon, would that give staff enough time to, A, contact the coastal commission and verify, and two, prepare language?
Yes,
2:00?
yes.
Okay, so what the CPA is going to do is continue this item at this point till 2:00. So we'll resume the meeting then. And at that point, I can go ahead and receive the full staff report, the changes, the memo, and so on. I'll ask that the memo be prepared as soon as possible and uploaded for public viewing, and any changes and so on. And then we'll resume the meeting at 2:00. And then at that point, I'll let the applicant speak on behalf of the project, and then open up the public hearing at that point. So right now, I'm gonna go ahead and continue it till 2 p.m. and we'll resume then.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. We'll see everybody back at 2:00.
Okay.
So we're now unmuted, right?